Good evening. The Design Review Board 2 public meeting of March 28, 2013 is called to order. Please refrain from talking amongst yourselves during the meeting, and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones. If you need to talk, please leave the meeting room. Anyone who wishes to speak, including applicants, is asked to completely fill out one of the speaker cards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff. Anyone who wishes to be re-noticed about a project must completely fill out one of the postcards provided at the table by the front door and submit it to staff to receive notice of subsequent meetings. Current DRB agendas are available by visiting our website at www.ci.glendale.ca.us. A handout describing the procedure of the meeting, possible board decisions, and DRB appeals is available at the table by the front door. Please note that appeals must be filed within 15 calendar days of the DRB decision date. The chairperson may reorder the agenda items at his or her discretion. This will be roll call. Mr. Malikian?
Here.
Mr. Gergos?
Here.
Ms. Sakai is out. Mr. Zarafian?
Here.
And Mr. Karogian is also out. The agenda for this meeting was posted on the bulletin board outside City Hall at or before 5 p.m. on March 20th, 2013. Do we have any oral communications?
I don't believe we have any.
Okay, since Ms. Sakai is out, Mr. Zarifian is going to act as the co-chair for tonight.
Sure. So, here we go. We have 3 cases today. What I like to suggest, because there's only one card for Sylvan Lane, I would like to suggest that we move that forward and start with that, because there are a lot of speakers for the second or the first case.
Rather's not here, though.
Is
Rather's not here.
The hearing off.
if that's the case, then if that's not going to work out, we can move forward as is. All right. I guess.
Mr. Chair, just one quick comment on the second one, Sylvan Lane. I'm fine with if we can just go ahead and not to open, and if we don't have any, and just make a decision if you want to move that up and just get it out of the way.
Yeah. No, that's fine. if you
Yeah,
you have reviewed it.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it's fine.
So,
All right.
So then let's move that up and then just get it out of the way.
All right. Do we?
Do you want to make a motion on it?
We can.
Well, let's open it up first.
Yeah,
and
let's-
let's
Okay.
make a motion to move that up and then make a.
Motion to.
I'll move that up to the first agenda.
Okay.
Do we need to move?
You don't?
Not a motion to move it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's get this quickly out of the way, and then we can concentrate on the first one. So with that, can you please present the Sylvan case number 2-PDR 1301372?
Thank you, Chair Pro Tem Sarafian and board members. The first item before you is case number 2 PDR 1301372-A, located at 23017 Lane. This is a first-time submittal for final review. The subject property is located within the Verdugo Woodlands neighborhood, and it is zoned R1 Floor Area Ratio District 2. This is a corner lot of about 8,700 square feet, and it is bounded by Verdugo Sylvan Lane at the front and Opeachy Way along the side. The lot was developed in 1940 with a one-story single-family residence with an attached 2-car garage, and its design is a minimal traditional style building. In 2011, a 222 square foot addition was completed. The applicant, at this time, the applicant is proposing a 733 square foot addition to the west side of the garage in order to create a new master bedroom, a master bath, and a walk-in closet. The addition will also bring the building closer to the side street, which is Opeachy Way. The location of proposed addition is appropriate in this situation and will preserve the openness of the front and side street setbacks. As I stated, the existing house is a one-story building, and the new addition will maintain this volume. The house is designed with varying roof heights and echoes a sense of hierarchy. The existing elevation are modulated and corresponds to the various living spaces inside. The fenestration is also reflective of the scale and proportion of its external appearance. The addition seeks to maintain the same mass and scale and will have a new street-facing gable, and its height will be the same height as the existing garage. And the new addition will also be modulated similarly to the existing building. In that sense, the mass and scale of the building of the proposed addition will have been appropriately addressed. The addition will match the existing style of the house and will be clad in the same material. For example, the roof will be composition shingle. It will have smooth stucco, and the windows will be wood windows. However, if you look at the side elevation, the west side, and the side facing Opeachy, which is the south side, staff believes that there are some opportunities to make some refinements to further the design. For example, that window facing the street could be wider or larger to be proportional to the size of that wall. And staff also believes that the west elevation, which is proposed to have no openings, should be provided with a window or two to break up the solid appearance of that wall. But overall, the applicant was successful in addressing all areas of the project, including site planning, mass and scale, and project design and detailing. Therefore, staff recommends approval of this project with 3 conditions and 1 considerations. And 2 of those conditions I've stated, which were to enlarge that window facing Opeachy and to provide a window or windows along the west elevation. The 3rd condition was that the windows and door openings should be installed recessed to match the existing condition. And the consideration, actually I take that back. The consideration is to incorporate a window or windows along the west elevation. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chair, if we don't have any cards, I would like to make a motion.
We have just 1 card for
And if you don't mind, okay, so like to make the motion to approve the project with the conditions and the considerations.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, there was a motion by Mr. Malakian and a second by Mr. Gergos to approve the project with.
Then you need to open.
No, well, I'll open the public session with Mr. Patrick Zorabian, please.
They tend to congregate in that side. and I was just trying to, eliminate windows so that way I don't have to
Windows
hear
to
noise.
the west is a consideration.
Okay. So-
And enlarging the window on the OPG, if you guys don't mind, I can make that a consideration as well. I'm okay with it.
I think it's possible to make it larger, but you don't necessarily have to make it all open. It could have shutters behind, but I think it will help this elevation to be more frontal and less this window looks kind of small in terms of its size to the size of the elevation side. That
Especially since that mass is pushing forward further than anything.
yeah, so I think in conjunction with you could potentially make it larger with some side lights and also give it some more height. But you could have shutters behind it. You don't necessarily have to keep it open, and also maybe shutters outside, as you mentioned, can help it. So I would think that you could do something to make this more working better with that part of the elevation.
Okay, I'm all right with making it a little bit larger. That's fine, and
Yeah.
adding the shutters. The only thing is, if you notice under my walk-in closet wall between the bathroom and the walk-in closet, it's
You
sort of
could-
right there, so I can take it up to that point.
Yeah, you could, for example, have vertical dividers that will receive the wall, and the one part of the window will be in the closet, but it's not a real window. It's a window, but it's
Or expand the window where you can and then add the shutters.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine.
A combination.
yeah. I think keeping it a condition would be okay. I think you can work it out.
Okay,
All right.
all right, thanks.
So
Roll call.
we already second that,
With
right?
those changes, with the changes noted.
Okay.
Okay, so the motion is to approve the project with the 3 conditions and a consideration to address the west elevation.
Right.
Okay, and Mr. Sarifian alluded to some of the options in addressing the
Yeah.
windows facing OPG, such as putting shutters.
No, I mean that's up to them. But I just mentioned that we should keep
Keep
it
the
as a
condition as is,
condition
yes.
because it can be done. Yeah.
Okay, so there was a motion by Mr. Malakian and a second by Mr. Garagos. This will be roll call. Mr. Garagos,
Yes.
Mr. Malakian,
Yes.
and Chair Pro Tem Sarifian.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0. Thank you.
All right.
Sure, if you're ready for the second.
So our second case today is case number 2-PDR 1228363. With that, I would like to ask for the staff presentation.
Yes, Mr. Chair. The board. The project is on your left side of the panels over here. Quickly, I'll show you. And we have the site, floor, and a landscape. This lower first floor, the lower level, is the area here on the slope, and the second floor would be up here. As you can see here, what the applicant tried to show, that there is a sloping street through here, and so the house, which sits down slope, at some points is more visible than others as you go up or down the street. And you can also see a bit of it here in the section views. And there's some section views here going, parallel the street, and then there's a section going through here showing what's from down the street and across the street. And so far? Okay. Good. And then, of course, your elevations, your street front, your back. This would be on this side of the house right here, and that's the other side.
So let me just quickly,
Yes.
while we're
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah.
subject, the site drops sharply right from the point of connection down on
Yes.
the right side.
And there's a tiny, we call it kind of a pad, but it's just a bit of a flat area that runs through there that they're trying to take advantage of and trying to bend the house a little bit on to follow it a bit. So there's not much of it, but there's a little bit of it. And so they're trying to take advantage of it. They do build up a little bit of a backyard here for a bit of a usable area, about a 5-foot high wall, which would be the maximum you could have for by code. That gives you a quick overview. The colors, materials, there's a perspective you can see there. The applicant also brought in a model that he has, and we could, after he makes his presentation here, or we could bring it up here, I thought we could try to improvise, and I sort of put together a little, here's a photograph of the site and the neighborhood. Maybe we could improvise and maybe even put the model up here in front, if you guys want to try that.
Sure.
Let's see, I mean, I know it would probably all fall over and break each other's things, but maybe we could try this. Something like that.
It's just
Model up there. And
Put it right here.
It can, yeah, we can put it right here.
okay, whichever you
So
prefer.
that-
Just as long as everybody can see it. So I'll give you a quick little back of the information here. The proposed house is 2,690 feet, square feet, with the two-car garage. The property has a steep slope at 49%. It's in a hillside zone, the entire area surrounding here. This is just up a mile or so up from Chevy Chase and that intersection of Linda Vista up in that part of Glendale. The golf club is over here in that area. As far as the neighborhood averages, and neighborhood comparisons, the property is fairly compatible in most things. In terms of house size, property size, this property shows about 3,000 feet larger. But as far as the house size, it's pretty much spot on. And they're all pretty much 2 stories in that neighborhood. As far as site planning, the categories that we review, staff felt that the site planning in general was okay. We didn't have any comments, recommendations, or conditions on this. For mass and scale, the area that we had a concern, we actually wrapped it up into the design and detail area. But it's the big thing that we just felt that this is a bit heavy. We felt some of these lintels were heavy, but then we just wrapped that up as well into design and detail. Other than that, as far as the mass and scale, we felt that it's acceptable for this particular site and the neighborhood. On the design and detailing, as far as colors and materials, well, we feel in general that it is appropriate for the area, though we do have 8 conditions that we're asking that the board look at, and the applicant has reviewed them as well. And with the exception, they may be acceptable on all of these, because he was talking to me about them as well. But the conditions that we have, again, the front entry feels a bit heavy, felt that the arch was not really appropriate in that entry, should be more of a straight line, because there's no curves anywhere else. We're recommending reducing some of that stone veneer cladding around the columns. Maybe use some of the stone veneer to anchor the building into the ground. Something like they've done back here. We've asked that the roof over on this side be a little simpler, flatter design.
Which side?
This would be this roof right here, on this side here. The thought that we thought we'd bring up to the board's attention, let them see what they thought. Again, the window lintels, we thought they were heavy and could be replaced with something different. Windows, fiberglass, a window color to be earth tone since it is hillside, the garage door to be earth tone, and then to use a stone veneer that back here on this little retaining wall that they're proposing, we're going to use the split face. We're thinking maybe try to keep a similar stone face material wrapping around the house and sort of have the house grow out of the hill with some of the veneer.
But that's 5 feet wall you're talking.
Yes, so yeah, if you wrap here and here, 5 foot, and it actually would come back like that right there. See it up here on the site plan.
Where is that 5? Is this the 5 foot wall here?
No.
Where?
Let's see. Here it is. Right there. Here it is right here. Yeah, this is it right here. garden wall, maximum 5 feet height, which goes from here to here. It just looked different here. I remembered it on the site, on the landscape plan. And then we have a landscape plan. The landscape materials were part of the Be Water Wise list and appear appropriate for this hillside area. And I spoke with the landscape architect who's also here, and he mentioned that it's appropriate for our hillside design guidelines, fire department, and all that. Any other questions that you have?
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to open the public session. We'll start with the applicant, Mr. Frank Ye.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Frank He. I was resident in Glendale for 22 years. My wife, Grace, she's sitting behind me. She just had bypass surgery, just sitting there relaxed. Actually, we are spending a lot of time doing this, talk with the design review. We very enjoy it, and this will be our retirement home. And on the common review board, have several comments. I need to emphasize the major character of this site. We have a sloping street, so if you see the model, most of the building is sunken from the street. You will not be able to see it. So only in the driveway.
Sir, you need to talk in the mic. We can, yeah, you can point it to us. We can.
Yeah, so driveway is the lower spot. We're making that as an entry. Otherwise, the building will be too high, so we go to the lowest spot and start building and build 35 foot. And we have an existing pad right below the driveway, so we build the building very naturally. We just follow the council building, the building along that pad. So, and another thing is the only visible element from the street will be the garage and the entry. That's why we are making a little bit emphasis on the entry, put a lot of stone. Now, design review board comment reducing the amount of stone. Okay, we will take down, make a straight lintel, horizontal lintel. Drop that right now is have a full height on the molding. We can drop down several foot and reducing the massing of the stone. That we agree on that, not a problem. The second question I need to verify with the board. One mentioned on the sloping roof on the west side of the patio. Yeah, he's trying to make a level roof. To me, we all the concrete roofing, flat roof tile. And then suddenly you're changing another element, maybe asphalt shingle and build-up roof. It looks funny to me. If you see the model, I think it's very natural because the slope is 6 by 12, very easy, very comfortable. Just go by the way I have. I am not sure whether we would really need that little portion of the porch making a flat roof. That one I leave up you to determine. But to me, I feel just the way we have a pitch roof, according 12 by 6, very natural, the same material. Otherwise, other than introducing another build-up roof kind of material. Now, the second thing, on the stone material along the retaining wall, you see the model, retaining wall, that will be the block. Will be earth stone. That the retaining wall, the one material. Of course, on the building side, we have a stone material like the stagger, different color variation, the color get a texture look. So the retaining wall will be split face, similar tone, earth tone, with a little bit red dot. The reason the design review prefer to have the same kind of material carry over to retaining wall. It would look very good. I say the same material, but on the construction architectural point of view, retaining wall basically retaining the dirt. I make a solid concrete block, 8 inch, with natural split face that tell the story. This retaining wall. The only thing I would carry just the textual split face to matching the stone I have on below the building, and try not to introduce something that the finish, the building finish material is this. You adding the finished material over a structural material is like a double. If that retaining wall will be stucco building or wood building, then we carry the wood over the finish over the wood. But retaining wall is the concrete block, a solid element. If we could get by, I'm not sure if you agree with that, would say, okay, we have a solid concrete split face with earth tone color matching the one I using on the finished material of the building. And then, of course, we have a lot of tree below to hide away with the people living downstairs. On the downhill side, on the section, we have a tree, we have some landscaping element to block out the view, block out the block wall or something like that. So that two item is I need to clarify with the review board. Other than that, those 8 items pretty much I would agree with.
Okay, thank you so much. There's a card that doesn't say whether it's a neighbor or applicant. Oh, it just says in
The landscape
favor.
architect, William Pico, is the landscape.
Oh well, yeah. That's so. Maybe that we can have the landscape architect to talk next.
Yes, William Peacock, 851 Misty Isle Drive. Been in business at Glendale since 1960. I don't know if you have any questions. Basically, we have 80% of the property landscaped using native material, etc. Some of the native material will be screening that wall, so I'm somewhat wondering why he needs to be making that decorative, because it'd be a waste, we'll be covering it. Existing trees are to remain. Existing screening on the side is to remain. If there are any questions, I'm open for any questions.
I guess it's mostly civil, trying to understand how this thing is being proposed. Based on some of the trees that are there now,
The eucalyptus are existing.
right, and then you're also proposing 2 new trees on the side yard. Majority of that yard is being filled. So I'm just wondering,
I was just trying to bring in some color on that side with those trees.
would those existing trees
Well,
survive this fill?
yeah,
You
they'd be
were talking
fine.
about a
They're not that large, the new ones. And down below are trees that will be screening, like the owner mentioned, so that the people below will not be viewing the home.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. Next is a handwriting that I can't read. It reads like Richard. Oh, the address 2940 is the same. No, it doesn't.
I'm on 2950.
Yes, that should be. What's your last name?
Heimbold.
Oh, that's okay. That's
I've got a few notes, and I've got them listed with some pictures.
You're east or west? You're east or west of the property, which,
East.
east side?
I'm
okay.
east. There's a few numbered items and a couple photographs. And
Oh, sorry. You said you stated your name and
my name is Richard Heimbold, Heimbold, and I'm the neighbor on the east side of the lot under discussion.
Yes, and your block number is your
address.
2950, 2950.
Thank you. I think you mentioned. Thank you.
Okay, I took a look at the plans last week, and the north elevation of that house, I think, could be better. That's what faces the street. I don't think it has a very appealing look to the outside world. I think the back of the house I like the back of the house, but I think the front, as far as the curb appeal in the neighborhood, leaves something to be desired. There's 3 types of gables there. One has a round image in it. One has more of a wing sort of thing. The other one doesn't have any. I think that design could be unified a little bit for them to make more sense. The windows look like cheap windows. All the recent houses in the neighborhood in recent years have had moldings around the windows. These look like they're just metal frame windows. The item number 2, I think we need a better way for the rain downspout outflow to reach the street. Picture number 1, I took the liberty of going to Mr. Yee's house, who lives 3 houses away. And they have the same deal. There's a metal railing going out to the street from the garage, but the pipes along it are really unsightly. And they look like an afterthought. They've been tied on with wire around the railing. And I would suggest that to be some kind of imaginative architecting to take the downspout, if it must be dumped on the street, and somehow work it through the railing to get it out there. Number 3, the landscape plan calls for retaining the current planting along Edgewick Drive. The plan along Edgewick Drive is very old. We've been there 23 years, and the owner who planted that, was there about 50 or 60 years ago. There are plants there like jade plants, rosemary, yuccas, and other things like that. They've just grown wild over the years. In some places in that wall of plants, you can walk right through it. Other places, it's taller than I am. So I think the appearance is not very good. It does not add to the curb appeal of a new house in our neighborhood.
I'm sorry, sir, you're out of time, but we're going to read the rest of the...
Okay, that's it.
Sorry. Yeah, we're trying to keep...
I just have one quick question for you. These photos and these examples, you're just telling us that what's around them, correct? I'm trying to understand, is it your understanding, is this somehow related to this project, or these are just examples that you're showing us that...
Well, the first one is from Mr. Yee's current home. It has the same design feature. So I'm assuming he'll solve that rain gutter problem in the same way. And I hope he doesn't. The other 2 pictures, one is from across the street, and I think it's instructive about what the design of houses, new construction, should look like. It has gorgeous landscaping, lots of color, and great window design. And then this picture is a picture of Mr. Yee's house, showing the landscaping. I think it could use a little invigorating to fit in with what's in the neighborhood already.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Next would be Darren. Let's see.
I'm the neighbor on the west side. My name is Darren Humecki. I live at 2932 Edgewick Road, which is on the west side of the current proposed development. The house I live in right now was built in 1957. It's a mid-century modern. It was built in alignment with the canyon. It disappears. You can't even see it. Frank's current house, which he built and was in the process of building when I first moved in, overshadows my house right now. The new house at 2940 is larger than appears to be larger than his current house, and it's just as large, and it puts me sandwiched in between 2 huge houses. And my backyard butts up against, I'm assuming, the back of his retaining wall and the property there. Yeah, it's this side here.
Can you point it out on that?
Yeah. This is my house here. You can see how small it is in comparison to this house. There was never any retaining wall put there. Part of this lot here is my backyard. His backyard is going to be looking down into my backyard, affording me no privacy. Currently, the way his current house is situated, I have very little privacy. Right up against it, I can hear everything going on at their current house. And to me, the size of the house brings down the value in the area considerably. My house is 1,700 square feet on approximately a 16,000 square foot lot. They're proposing to do a 2,900 square foot house on a way smaller pad than where my current house is. I have a letter. I have photos of his current house and the view from my backyard up at the elevations of his house and everything else here, which I'll hand to you to take a look at, at your leisure. But I'm opposed to the massive size of this house. It's huge. It doesn't fit in with the flavor of the neighborhood, which has a lot of mid-century homes in it, and it is just extremely, extremely large, in my opinion.
Okay. Thank you very much. The last speaker would be Roland Foyer.
Hi, my name is Roland Foyer. I live at 2965 Edgewick, so I'm across the street and just 2 houses down from this property. In terms of the house, I find the overall design just uninteresting. It's not appealing. They picked the best side to do a rendering of. The street-facing side has no articulation. It's just very bland. Looks like a tract home. And actually, it will become a tract home because his other home uses the same exact details, materials, stucco lintels, stucco fascias, cheap metal railings, cheap windows. It's a poor quality construction, poor quality design, actually. I feel that there's a lot of different elements going on here. You have shed roofs, you have smaller gables, larger gables, kind of a half gable shed roof. Architecturally, again, I think it's very uninteresting. The front entry is poor. Not only the rock overpowering that 6-foot door, but you walk out, you have 3 foot, you hit a metal railing. It doesn't show up on any of the drawings, but if you look at the drawings close enough, you have 3-foot clearance right out the front door. Very odd to me. If you were going to design a nice house, you'd expect to have a little bit more space there, and you wouldn't expect a cheap metal railing going in front of it. If you look at the pictures of his other house, it's all cheap railings. The siding, there's no paths going around to the backyard. How are you going to bring down a lawnmower? How are you going to bring down any kind of gardening? Where are the garbage cans going to go? They're going to go in the front of the garage like the rest of them do. On a lot of these new houses that I see, that they're supposed to have garbage enclosures. I never see one. But there's really no way around that house. There's no paths, nothing. I think the back looks a little bit more interesting than the front, but still not that great. Some of these details that we talk about, I realize that they're supposed to be carried through in the design process, but I would like to see these details added to the drawings right now, because the chimney caps are going to look very cheap. They look like water heater caps, like his house he has right now. These are items that we actually get stuck with later. When Dick was talking about the gutters coming to the street, I realize that maybe should have been carried by the city further down the line, but it won't be. It will be passed on it, and we get to live with it. There's still sandbags at that house. There's still construction material. There's plastic that has flown away to keep the slope from eroding. There's not even a proper culvert at the bottom. There's just block walls, and it drains in there, and every time it just floods away. I realize, again, this is something that necessarily a design review can't control all, but I would like to see these types of details, where the roof gutters are going to drain, because we get stuck with this stuff later. Right now what happens is that gutter gets moved in the summer. In the winter, you have to step over it to step into the house. That's what it looks like. I think just the material choices and the quality of construction is very poor, and I hope that the design review committee could ask them to list and detail exactly what they're using on this so it gets carried forward.
Thank you so much. With this, I think we had all of our speakers speak, and the public session.
A couple of questions, quick questions
Sure.
from the owner.
I think we still have the rebuttal.
Yeah,
you can,
they can.
Yeah, you can please come forward.
Yeah, actually, the size of the building is much smaller, 2,690 square foot, compared to all the new building. They have 3,000, 4,000, and we have a table indicate our lot is so big, and we have a table indicate that our building is not the size, the oversized. And then concerning to the west side of the neighbor, you will see the cross section parallel to the street. You see on the picture, I have a 74-foot distance from that building on the left-hand side and my house in the middle. And actually, their house is looking down to me, not I looking over to them. They were elevation 14 foot above me, and there's a lot of eucalyptus tree. Yeah, right. That's the distance. They have existing tree there. The landscaping we made.
Section, right?
Yeah, the section.
Third floor.
Yeah, right. That's the one, the section. I have a 74-foot distance from that house. Actually, elevation on that building is higher than my building. They are actually looking down to me, but my window, only 2 window on the bedroom, small window. I'm not looking to them, I'm looking to the downhill side. That the thing need to clarify. It's the same token on the east side property between, I have a 38-foot separation, but you see the model, a lot of tree. The building facing downhill is at the south end. I have a house existing on the east side and then a house existing on the west side. The west side have a 74-foot distance apart. Now, the one comment indicate the trash, what do you call it? The garbage, yeah, we have much room in the garage. So basically, we will rolling in, rolling out. This is my retirement house. I will not carry the trash can up and down. I just rolling from the garage to the street. I have plenty of room to cover that. What else you?
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Have you taken this plans to the building department to have them look at the condition you're creating in front yard? You're bringing slope all the way down to the to your house. Is the city going to ask for some sort of a retaining wall to create that the distance from the toe of the hill?
Actually, any retaining wall I will not build in the front yard side back. I have a 15-foot front yard side back, setback. Front yard. Now, anything beyond that front yard setback, any retaining wall will not cannot exceed a 5 foot tall.
I understand that,
yeah.
but what I'm asking you is, have you taken these drawings to the city to see if you can actually build the building right up to the toe of the hill?
And
I think
yes or no? That's all I need to know.
he's talking about
I know what
this condition here. You see how the slope dies right into the...
I have, as long as I have enough setback, as long as I have enough setback
It's
on
not
the
a
toe
planning
of the
issue, it's a
building,
building and
that
safety
is okay.
I'm not saying how you. I just want to know. Have you taken that to see if the retaining wall is an issue or not?
I will,
Okay, you haven't. Okay.
yeah.
The second question, from the entryway, from the main entryway, are
Right.
you? I'm not understanding your drawings, so I'm not. That's why I want to clearly understand what you're proposing. Are you proposing to come out of the entry door
Right?
and then turn right and step into the driveway and walk out from there?
Go turn, yeah.
So essentially, when you're coming out of your main entry, which is on a 101 level,
I have 5 foot or 6 foot distance from my door, pretty much clear.
here it's shown more in the plan.
so what I'm trying to understand is that
3 feet.
this right here is 3 feet out. So you're coming out, and then you're going to go around, and then you're going to walk out. Is that what you're going to do?
Can I point out this
Oh, oh, there.
Alternative.
This is my door here.
Right.
I have a 5 or 6 foot
I understand.
distance from and turn. Actually, if I go up to this one, this almost level. You see the model? in the grading, natural grade, if you see here, actually, the natural grade pretty much close to the end. Hold on. Like the
Your
concrete-
101 is here. Your 101 is here.
Right.
This right here
Yeah,
is
this the 101
98. You're at
It's a
101.
2 foot, actually, this is more like a little bit a pad here, a little bit down, a little bit. That's fine. Yeah, it not it's certainly drop. It's just gradually one step down. That's all. It's still a wide open space in front of my property.
Can you just speak into the mic? You can't just.
Oh,
You
I'm
need to
sorry.
speak into the mic.
Still have a plenty of open space in front of the door. Maybe one step because only 1 to 2 foot step. That's all. Okay. Okay.
So, with this, I think we close the public session, and I think the floor is open for discussions.
You want me to go ahead and start?
Go first.
Well, first of all, I appreciate the neighbors bringing these images and the details and stuff, but without even looking at these and looking at the drawings, I would have assumed that's the quality of the construction that we were going to get. I'm not sure the applicant has ever reviewed the hillside guidelines, and, you know, looking at the design of this building and all the precedents that we have around the neighborhood, you know, technically it fits within the neighborhood, but it doesn't meet the hillside guideline. What they're proposing is to do is, you know, create a flat ground in a hillside and negate the whole concept of having a downslope site. You know, I wasn't involved in any of those designs. I've been here long enough that I should have seen a couple of them being built. But in this particular one, I am here, so I'm going to make the best of it and trying to fix or correct the mistakes and recommend. I seriously think we have some grading issues as far as the retaining walls and everything that the building is going to be placed against along the front yard. So there's going to be some site conditions that are consistent, and you have this curving front setback or front property that that does have substantial amount of conditions there that it's going to, you know, alter the front setback and alter the front design. There's a lot of questionable design elements here that, again, ultimately will affect the entire design. Like, for example, you know, you got an entire driveway improvement beyond the property line, so I'm not sure how that's going to be addressed with the Public Works. The other thing is that the setback from the property line to the garage door, you have an 18-foot, so ultimately the entire building needs to be pushed back, so that entire elevation is probably going to be set back. I don't think planning measures to the garage door, but they figure the garage itself, correct? Or the side walls need to project out? Can that happen if the garage is there?
So the
Well, right now, the garage walls, the way it's designed, you got the garage walls that are beyond the 18-foot, and then they're measuring it up to the garage door. It should be 18. So that ultimately will push back that entire facade, ultimately will affect the design there. But in general, I think it's, you know, you're dealing with the slope site, you're dealing with all these different conditions that exist, and taking the easy way out of creating a flat pad there, I don't think that's the right solution for this project. Especially a lot of these, you know, details that I'm seeing, and aluminum windows and other things. I think all of those really hurt the project instead of help the project. So I think a substantial amount of study, site planning, and study of massing needs to occur. You know, especially at this end of the project. You know, being that, you know, you have a site that it's sloping down, and you have a parcel that it's somewhat flat, and then assuming that this little portion is flat, we created the entire pad as a flat land. It doesn't work that way. I think this area needs to step down, I understand that, we want to create a flat, but again, we're in a hillside and we're in a downhill parcel, so I think there's definitely a condition here that doesn't make sense to me. It more of, you're creating improvement beyond the property line, and then from there on, you're still going up, which, this is not a flat land, so I think that's definitely an issue. The second thing is that I would have loved to understand, I see all these sections and all these, drawings, but I would have loved to see the actual natural slope to the natural grade to understand how much of this dirt is being added on to create this. And is there any way that we can go ahead and create some sort of a slope area? So again, I think it's a definitely a very weak design, being appropriate in the street name. So I think we have quite a bit of work. So I'll wait until I hear your comments, and then we can continue on the. If we want to start detailing all these little conditions of the project, but I think in overall, I think it's definitely a no-go for me.
Where to start? I think in general, a lot of the homes in that area are, as almost said in the staff report, not a distinctive architectural style. It sort of it's a, sort of a builder's aesthetic. I think that's a lot of what's happening up there, or what has happened. That doesn't mean you should have poor detailing or anything else. So I think in terms of massing, I would give somebody a little bit of leeway, only because I don't think some of the ones up there they're sort of handled in a similar way. So I could be flexible in terms of how the massing happens. I think there actually is an opportunity here where the driveway, could actually start here and it could go down, and the garage could actually happen down at the lower level or something. It didn't have to happen straight off like that. But that's a different approach to the house, so I wouldn't want to make that a condition. I think all the points you made are absolutely spot on. What's interesting about having the picture of the house next door is that or the house previous, it's a delineation of what would be my questions on this one. The fact that there's no surrounds, and the fact that there's not exterior grids and stuff that would help make the windows look attractive. So these would all be part of any comments I'd have later. So it's hard for me to be, too hard on faithfulness to a architectural style, because there isn't a strong architectural style, in a lot of the homes up there at that sort of a period of time. But that having been said, I think there still is a language that could be used, a strength of what could be done. I mean, the entry seems, hazard or not relating to anything. So, I mean, obviously the way that the entry piece was done could be redone. There's a suggestion of some lines that happen next on either side of the garage door that make it look like, maybe that was going to have rock and didn't, but we left the watermarks there. So, it just seems like this is a good diagram to start with that would then be fleshed out. I think like I said, I would be flexible to the fact of the massing. I think the house isn't too large for that property. I think it's consistent with the other homes in the area.
I think the massing.
Yeah,
I mean, the size is fine.
Yeah, the size I think is fine. So I wouldn't.
I think the massing, because I think at one point somebody was saying, the house is 2,800, but it's actually 2,690. But then you got the garage, so that adds up to the mass. So.
But again, I don't think the size is inconsistent with the property. So that I don't have a problem with. So I would be a little bit flexible on massing and how it's placed. But I do think the house, from an architectural standpoint, is at a preliminary stage, and it's not at the stage where it would be approved architecture. So I think in general, I think it's close in terms of what it is and where it is, but not how it's. And we could get into those if we.
Thank you so much. first of all, thank you everyone for participating and really providing all this material for us to understand your points of views. Starting with the owner and the applicant, I think these sections are really important. I always look for this kind of information, especially the larger site plan showing the placement of the house and everything, and also on the neighbor's part to bring all these photographs with information, with notes, and this really helps us to understand it, and especially that you have a model. I think the model is really essential to understand this project. If this wasn't here, I think we would have been still talking about some of the points and issues. I think, a lot of information was already relayed. I agree. I'm leaning more this way to board member Geragos. If I want to just say my perspective on it, would be it feels like the site, the building is not connecting itself to the topography the best it could. The first thing that I notice is like when I look at this model, it seems like the building has been shoved into the slope, like board member Malekian was saying. It comes so close to the wall that it will run into issues, just constructability and site drainage issues. And then it seems like the house wants to turn and create more space here and then be more parallel to the topography that follows downward. But in general, I think the building needs to be developed a little bit more. It's true that there is not a prominent language surrounding the house. The neighborhood basically is not one of those that I would say has a very strong and distinct architectural character. But I think the house itself can improve in terms of some of these kind of mix of roof types and the way it connects to the site. So it seems like it needs a little bit work, one in terms of the siding, the way it connects to the site, and resolving all those issues that were addressed by board member Malekian and Geragos, and then just needs to be taken further into the development of the design, so that we can see a good improvement in terms of how the windows and all these details that will make this house a better house. So I would like to have a motion to
a couple of general design comments that what
Sure.
I see and what I think that it should, things that are definitely an item to be addressed. Pretty much every elevation you look at, you have a different slope of roof slope. So that right there tells me, you're going to have all these different conditions in every corner of the house. So you got a 6 to 12, you got a 3.4, you got another one which is 5 1/4 or 3/4. You got all of these things that are just happening because that was convenient, and it wasn't a solution used to solve these problems. You also got these entry elements that are there, on top of all these windows that are placed without any specific details or anything like that. I think the adjacent house, like the photos and the site visit, obviously it's a mimic of what's there. So I think that should be an example of not to be repeated on this project. I think the details have to be brought up to definitely at a higher level. I think site conditioning is definitely an issue. I think site drainage is going to be a problem. I think some of the drainage elements, such as the gutter system that we're talking about and other things, I think those definitely have to be in. And it's been, with the design, you created a lot of these elements that you're going to have all these downspouts that are coming down from all these elements there. And how's that going to be taken out? And, is that going to be a design element that it's going to be exposed? Or is that going to be placed into the wall so we don't see that? You also have retaining walls. You have two different address. I understand that you brought these samples and everything, but you got two different retaining walls with two different ways of addressing. So I think someone serious needs to look at this and make this really a serious project rather than just a track home style development. So I think a lot of these details have to be addressed with quality materials, quality details, and then at the end, quality craftsmanship. So I think I'm definitely going to request a condition to follow through and make sure that the construction is carried through with the utmost care.
Yeah, and would you like to maybe, along the same line, make a few very overarching comments or conditions that will really guide the architect?
I honestly, I can tell you a couple of positive things about the project, but other than that, I think the entire project has to be revisited. In general, I think the style I'm fine with. I don't care about the style. I think just the massing, the site conditioning, the roof types, roof slopes, and the overall design of the roof, the accessibility from the street to the building, those need to be addressed. The size is fine. I don't mind that. If there's a way to kind of follow the hillside guidelines and be able to start stepping as it gets closer or further down the hill, that can really help the design of that. Even if a breakup on the roof lines or something there that will kind of depict the stepping of the building, I think that will definitely help the situation. I mean, the previous project has a lot more interest than just a flat roof. I think it's just a simple approach of a design and construction, and we're done. It's like, but we are dealing with hillside, so I think that those are.
Well, I think to be fair to the applicant, and I want the board to be clear. Assuming that it was executed properly or sensitively, do we have an issue in terms of, as opposed to a recommendation but an actual condition, that the placement is proper or not proper in a diagrammatic sense? I mean, if we have an issue with that, I think we need to be clear and say that the diagram has to change or not. I mean, if this was executed with proper pitches and detailing and an architectural language, are we okay with the diagram of the building or not? I mean, we need to be fair to them, we need to give them that direction.
I think you're correct. We need to be very clear about what we're trying to say in some of these comments.
I mean, do we have a problem, a go, no go, with the diagram of where the building is?
For example, I would say wrong place in the house. If this really create some space behind here, because I'm afraid rooms in the ground or lower level of the house facing the slope will be really dark because there's no space to let light in even. So I think that the break should here.
Could you indicate what area, what point you're thinking?
Between the garage, at the entry, basically.
Maybe
To the east of the...
I can show it in the plan, actually. It
around
seems
the
to
entry.
me that this is the part of the house that connects. So it's almost happens on this face at the right point, but it seems like the bigger portion of the house that needs to break is from the entry point on. Somehow this pushes the house further back, and I think the house should be, this back line of the house at least should be around here to allow some flat area to let light into these rooms.
One option would be that if it didn't turn and it went straighter across, and you just went ahead and lost those lower windows so that you got more open space on the lower level. Just, I want to be, all of us to be clear whether the diagram is good or not.
The applicant, if they want to have windows there, if they indicated windows, then those windows are right against the hill.
Yeah.
So it's somehow, when you look at the model, it seems like the grades are doing something and the house is doing something else. It's like there's a disconnect.
If we look at this as kind of two sections of the house, the garage and entry section, and then the living spaces to the west, if we were to bring the living space area further south, possibly increasing the sharpness of the bend at that point, is that the direction you're thinking about?
I think that's the best way to put it.
Something like that. Okay.
Yeah, we cannot definitely completely address the issue, but we can at least talk about the intention and the direction that it should be.
But within the hillside ordinance, they could have had a retaining wall at the lower level, which could give them some lower.
Yeah.
And they could do a retaining wall that could address that kind of light and air pinch point. I mean, I'm just saying, when you're saying go back to redesign, if that's where we're headed, I just at least wanted to give them an understanding of what we're talking about, at least on the diagram. If we have a problem with the diagram, I think we need to be clear that there's a problem with that, otherwise not. If this was executed property, would we have a problem with the diagram?
Well,
yeah, for example, I just thought about something. We're not trying to design, but we're just trying to talk about the possibilities that even we can understand what we're trying to say, because I think, for example, this part of the house, the garage, is trying to be perpendicular to the road, but it doesn't have to be. To me, the biggest problem that I have, it seems like you want to take the house and turn it around and be more parallel and facing that way. It seems like the house is ignoring that. So if you even the driveway, some curve to it, like it could start here and then you can drive this way. There's nothing to stop you from taking a little very soft turn so that this face will be in this direction. If you put the house in this direction, you probably almost don't need it to break the house even. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we could,
We almost stuttered.
or we could keep the basic two-story volume, shift the angle of it to be more
But
respectful.
to work
of the
better with because
hillside.
what's happened is that all of a sudden you end up all two-story side that it just is exacerbated by that turn. When it turns sort of, I think, and will look more natural and simply sort of placed in the terrain. So I think once you do that, then simplify this kind of breakage that happens in the house.
Well, I think
by
that
itself
solves one problem, and it creates another problem. I think that solves the breakage, and it solves the corner retaining wall, but the other problem that it creates is that you create a two-story flat pad structure, and that itself, it doesn't meet
those other things probably should happen. I mean, there's the stepping and all
what
that.
I would suggest is that rather than create this two-level of angle, what I would do is I would probably push the somehow create a retaining wall condition along the front, and then kind of grade the upper level and die it into and create an impact wall into the lower area, being that there's, other than this, maybe that this section kind of grades back in and this gets pushed back and the other one somehow, some playfulness in the... and I don't know if that's the answer for it, then you can actually kind of create the stepping.
Do you see, and I'm not sure if this is where you're going with talking about the grade changes, shifting the upper floor volume and the lower floor volume, maybe not having them necessarily be at the same angle, which could open up some deck space on the view
Exactly.
side.
Or something that will give some sort of a, reduce the mass of this building rather than create this two-level on a flat land. And I think that's my problem with this project. It's creating that, and it's creating these site conditions that are non-usable. You're creating this, existing. I don't even know what the grading requirements are if you're developing a site that you have a non-conforming grade situation on the site. I mean, I don't think that's a 2-to-1 slope there, and if it's not, how do you solve that? And there's a lot of these grading questions that I have that I don't think they have the answer for. But
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't think building safety.
I really don't think that's going to work, to be honest with you.
One thought would be for us to ask someone from Building and Safety to join us at one of our design meetings
that would be really
to make sure
helpful.
we're not going
Yeah.
somewhere we can't go.
Yeah, because I
ultimately.
think this is an issue. I mean, how that's being treated right there at the front. I don't know that that's.
Yeah, and I think once what I'm afraid of is that if we say, okay, it's fine, go ahead and go build this, and once they get to the building and safety, they're going to come back and say, oh, we want a retaining wall, you need to push this back, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. So solving that now, I think it definitely helped them in the long run.
Yeah.
But at the same time, do we want to have the flat land there, and do we want to create that? I don't know. And I have to say, if it was a little bit more appealing as far as not a track home, but more of a custom home, then it would have been a lot more easier to absorb a lot of these little site conditions. But I think right now we're creating a track home on a flat pad in a hillside.
Which is what I'm getting at. I mean, if it was approached more sensitively, I mean, would you have a problem with the?
I don't think I would have. At least I have something to kind of,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the problem is that it seems to me that there are too many things happening to begin with the house. It starts with some of the things you said about the roofs. There are too many angles. There are too many.
I don't even know how they're going to build it with those angles.
But I do think that a 2-story house can easily be placed in a terrain like this if it's done correctly. You just have to.
We do have many examples in the infamous example book that we have, so I think they should.
Which we will be using for these meetings. Hopefully, we can find some ones that are comparable.
I think we do have a couple, if I recall correctly. I think they can definitely use that to help them come up with something. I don't know if we really.
It's hard to.
Chris is
I was hoping
really
to
good
give
at
them more
writing
direction.
things.
That's
It's
what
like, did we give you enough stuff to?
I only
Yeah, we were hoping to come away from this meeting with a design, but we have some ideas. So.
I don't know if we want to
No,
design
I
it
think, for
us.
example, we can say simplify massing. In general, it seems like
If you can I read back some
I
of
don't know
the
that
let's do that.
because these
I
are
don't know.
the notes
I'm
between,
just-
between Chris's notes and my notes. This is what we're going to enter into the meeting to kind of use as our guideposts. First, and maybe most importantly, is figure out the placement on the site. Will the house bend? Will the upper and lower story bend in different ways? And this may be influenced by our staff person from Building and Safety, who helps us understand what potential grading or retaining wall issues might interfere with certain design ideas. In general, we'll work to improve detailing all around the house, improve the use of materials, perhaps introduce some different types of siding. And in general, the guidance would be make it less tract-like. We will work to regularize the roof slopes. We'll try to reduce the 2-story mass, and this is kind of tied into whatever happens with the placement on the site. And I think, and then windows and things like that would also be considered in the general detailing discussion. Chris, what else do you have?
I have a lot.
I'm trying to go big ideas.
So, sorry. The site planning is a problem. Okay? The site planning is a problem, and there's an inconsistency between the siting of the house and the topography. They seem to be at odds with each other. The hillside guidelines aren't being followed. Normally, when you have hillside guidelines, a house follows the topography rather than. And the reason let me back up. The reason the hillside guidelines went into effect was because of concerns of creating flat pads for flatland homes and hillsides, which the community did not like, and so that's why the guidelines. So we want to have the hillside guidelines. That's something we want to use. That term, I think, would be appropriate.
Although the board's been clear, I think that we can have more or less a two-story volume, which might be at some odds.
Well, yeah,
with
the
the
two-story,
guidelines.
but I think what the issue on the two-story volume is stepping and breaking as opposed to straight up. And I think that's the issue, that when I think of hillside guidelines is that you have a topography that goes like this. You may have a little blip of a pad, but instead of just taking that pad, creating a little backyard, and then putting a two-story house on it at odds with the angle of the property, is creating some conflicts.
But
Just on
the
site.
board in general sees a two-story mass here being somewhat acceptable.
I
if we
think
can work out
it
the
is
details.
fine. I think the quality of the design is going to really help.
Yes.
If they can't really step the building, I think that give us something to say, okay, this is fine. That's how I feel. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but it may come to that point that maybe the style of the design and the roof lines or other things can playfulness into them, so we can
Well,
kind
that
of.
was my
doesn't-
other part, was following
House-
up on that. Was
Yeah, the house doesn't necessarily have to step. I mean, there's a lot of examples of hillside ones that are strong
yes.
in that. So I just think that it needs, but those have an architectural language that they're using.
And that's the design and detailing part where we took a lot of information down on that, and I think Jay, I'll sort of leave that information to him.
I mean, I think in general, if you want to make a statement that I would be comfortable with is if a building is only going to have stucco, it better be done really well.
Yeah.
The windows have to be done well, the openings, how the positive and negative space works. That's the only way that you can do just stucco on a house. Otherwise you're going to have to add materials to add interest to it. Otherwise, you can't just put these aluminum windows on a stucco box. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, the applicants are actually proposing vinyl windows also.
But it also needs to be exterior grid. It needs to have, trim piece or not, or recess, something to add to the defining.
Well, in a way, that kind of helps me because I was thinking more of breaking the box and setting one at, let's say, the second floor back toward the street and the further one following the topography in that direction, but that doesn't appear to be.
It could be. I mean, that's one way of handling the fact of a large mass. But I mean, you could have a two-story facade, but if it had large punches in it or something that helped the fenestration or something that worked with the volume, you could have a two-story facade that had interest. But if it's just 2 stories of stud with windows on it that are,
Right.
there's not enough there to add interest to it.
All right. Hey, did you want me to ramble on some more? I have lots of, but it's pretty much the same sort of repeating many of the things that.
Yeah, as long as we have it for our records, I think
All right.
we have general direction from the board.
Make a motion that we return for redesign with the comments and conditions noted.
Conditions and considerations.
Conditions and considerations. Have a second?
Oh, sorry. I'm just looking at a second.
If you don't want a second, that's okay.
No.
So we have a motion by Mr. Gergos and a second by Mr. Malekian, and for a return for redesign with conditions that were stated at the meeting. And roll call, Mr. Gergos,
Yes.
Mr. Malekian?
Yes.
And Mr. Zerfian?
Yes.
Okay, 3-0, return for redesign with conditions.
Thank you.
Actually, doesn't that have to stay? Yeah, do you have to keep the model?
Frank, that's our model. We have to keep the model. Yeah. Thank you, Jay.
Oh,
Well, we should keep the model.
yeah, you can.
There you go, sir. Is that center? Does that look like pretty much between all y'all?
Yeah.
Good deal.
Quality, we don't
Now, it was an old pearl years ago, so she's coming back.
actually.
Oh, we're still on.
You don't want that known, or what? You want to keep that under wraps?
I may be modified.
There's a chance that will work.
Okay. So that
Control of your meeting.
brings us, yeah. Sure. Thank you so much. That brings
Sorry
us
about
to
that.
our third case, which I'm trying to find my paper here. Case 2-PDR 1235723, which is signage improvements. With that, please.
Okay, thank you, Pro Tem Zarifian. The project site is located, can you hear? On the southwest corner of Pacific Avenue and the Dryden Street intersection. The building was built in 2009 and is developed with an approximately 1,600 square foot, one-story medical office and retail commercial building with 2 tenant spaces. An orthodontics office is on the north unit, and the retail tenant space occupies the south unit. The front entrances to both tenant spaces face Pacific Avenue, and there are 8 on-site surface parking spaces at the rear of the building. The sign program proposes a combination of canopy wall, window, projecting, and building address identification signs. The proposed canopy wall, window, and projecting signs meet code requirements for size and are in scale with the building. One canopy sign, which is the orthodontic sign, is proposed on the fascia of the curved aluminum canopy above the north tenant space. The sign will be centered over the glass entry doors facing Pacific. In addition, one window sign and a building address identification sign are proposed to be centered on the glass panels above the entry doors. The retail tenant space at the south unit is proposing approximately a 20 square foot wall sign attached to the stone veneer, which would be the sign on the left of the display. They're also proposing the building address identification sign on the glass panel above the entry doors, which will be centered and on the centered on the stone as well. For each tenant space, a projecting sign location on the front of the building and wall sign locations on the rear of the building facing the parking lot are proposed in the sign program for future use. They're not proposing signs at this point. The identification signs are exempt from obtaining a sign permit if the sign is no greater than 2 square feet in area, and we don't really have the dimensions. It looks like they're greater than 2 square feet, so they're categorized as informational signs, and the board may elect to place a condition of approval on the project that these 2 building signs, identification signs, do not exceed 2 square feet. Staff is recommending approval of the sign program, of the project with the 2 conditions, which are noted in the staff report. If you'd like, I can state those. If not, yes?
Yes.
Okay. The first is that the proposed identification sign shall be no more than 2 square feet in area, which are the actual address portion. And secondly, the planning division staff shall have the ability to approve additional sign colors if colors complement the building. That's
Okay.
it. If you have any other
Yeah, we don't have any
questions or-
speakers. No, any
We have
questions?
the applicant here.
Yeah,
Fill out a
but
speaker
we,
card?
there's no, a card wasn't submitted. Is there one? Oh,
I just have a question, just to clarify.
Sure.
It's basically, the southern unit is a box sign, which is the left,
Correct.
and then the northern one is a backlit channel, a backlit silhouette, or what?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a backlit.
Yeah, on the railway, on 6-inch railway. The applicant may be able to explain this better, but there's push-through lettering on the sign on the left.
So it really is above the door. It's a box that the whole spandrel.
Almost, yeah, it's
That's
centered
what's
in
being
there.
proposed. Mm-hmm. Like that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it.
Just
Yeah,
throwing
we'll
it
talk-
out there.
Yeah. So so any
Just
questions?
wanted to clarify.
Yeah. Do you have any?
Actually, I don't have a question for the applicant. I mean, yeah.
No, we still have the applicant too.
Yeah.
So if you like, Mr. Sean Said.
My name is Sean Said. I'm the applicant for 1017 North Pacific. The owner, Dr. Awakian, he has an orthodontist business. He moved from one part of Glendale to that corner. He owns the property. And he never had a sign, and evidently when they were project was submitted for building it, they never had a sign program. So, and part of the building, the second tenant, is supposed to be a medical, but he couldn't get anybody to lease it. For a year and a half was empty, and then eventually we had find some people interested for just a retail business. So we changed the use from the medical to the retail, and the person moved in and he's selling children clothing, and he came up with that logo and sign. He said, I prefer to have a sign over there because it can improve my business and make my sell. So he was the one who proposed that sign, and then owner said, you know what I have on the window is not sufficient, and even though people, they know me for 20-something years, Sami in Glendale, but I rather have some kind of design in my building too, my portion too, which we propose that orthodontic sign is like a chandelier sign from the back letter. Is just a steel cut, the color dark, painted black, and then is on a raceway, in a box raceway. So if in some point, if that tenant moves from there, the owner moves from there, some other person comes, he can just put another chandelier on top of that raceway. And then the second one is just a push-through ladder. It cut through the steel, and there is like a plastic, they pass it through that cut, and then the cover on top of it is just like a permit the light goes through from the back area. It's like a box sign with the light from the back area. It goes through those permissible.
Does it illuminate
plastic.
the whole white
It's aluminum,
area?
whole white.
The white
correct.
area is
Correct.
illuminated.
That's the background, right?
I believe that's not the case. I believe the letters are cut out of the metal, and the
No, we're
light
talking about
only
the-
comes through the letters.
No, there's a plastic come push through that cutout, which the light comes through that plastic out.
So I've got it backwards.
Is that right?
I'm a little confused. So.
That kind of the sign has been installed in a lot of shopping centers in the Glendale Mall, and it's just a piece of metal. They cut through the lettering, and then they put the plastic through, push through those cutout, with the light comes through that area. In some area, they don't even put no plastic; just they let the light on the back just shine through those cutout.
Right, so the letter is a plastic, so the light will go through the letter.
Correct.
And then there'll be a little bit of light that comes through the whole background,
The
'cause
whole-
it's like a checkerboard.
Just
right?
like that.
Okay. All right. And it's essentially a box. You're illuminating the whole rectangle, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And whatever light passes through that background will be the box.
Box.
And one other thing, the upper picture, is that the actual size? Is that how
That's the
big
actual sign.
orthodontics would be on
That's
that?
correct. Yeah, that's the actual sign. It's going to go on top of that facade, that aluminum.
As far as the orthodontic sign, is that going to be curved to
Curve,
follow
correct. It's going to follow the curve. Yeah, the facade is curved,
Okay.
and it's going to just follow that.
Now, explain to me a little bit about this raceway. Why is it supposed to be set in the middle, and why isn't it like a very thin little raceway in a curved element, and these letters are just sitting on that?
The sign company proposed to us, he said that before we suggested that they put a raceway and put the lettering on top of the raceway. But the connection and support from the lettering, each letter, to the box, it was going to be like sort of like a very small area, especially with some of the lettering. Probably with the wind and movements or something, it was going to be affected. So what we decided, we bring that box raceway right in the middle and support these letters on top of the raceway, because it was going to be. The bigger raceway is more contact is between each channel letter with the raceway, so it's going to create more stable sign.
The problem is that you're here to get the design approved, and because of some of these structural conditions,
Right.
and we're trying to find a. So I understand some of these. So I think the solution. I'm not a sign designer.
Is that the square foot allowable? Is that why that is that size? That's orthodontics? That's.
He's within the allowed square
Yeah, I
footage.
think it's too small. I wish it was bigger.
It's too small.
So that's what it just looks. I mean, it looks kind of funny.
I don't know. The elevation is probably more accurate than the photo that was drawn on.
Yeah.
Photo's just written on.
Yeah, photos.
Yeah.
That's what I was asking. The photo is not.
The
real.
photo's not accurate.
That's accurate. It would be more like this. So it extends a little past the door. It's a little bigger than this.
I guess the way the drawing was done, it was hard to.
Color design is scaled, but the photo is not. So
It's very important that this doesn't occupy the whole height
no,
of
it doesn't. No,
because otherwise it's
no, it doesn't. Correct.
I have two questions. These on the plan, we see projected signs for each one, and also future box signs behind the building.
We
Tell us,
yes.
because it's not shown.
At the beginning, we didn't decide to put any kind of sign on the back, but somehow we thought maybe that if these tenants they move out, so that some other tenant, when they come, they park on the back side. We have two doors is going into the building. So if we have some kind of the sign on top of that, it leads the people into the right door, instead of like we put some kind of the number over there or another.
Is there any
address.
indication of what they look like? It's not
Both
shown.
sign?
Yeah.
Not really. If it's going to go follow the same guideline on the front area, so probably it's going to be similar to the same sign on the front. Nothing more different.
Yeah. No, the vertical one, the projected sign.
The projection sign, they're going to be like a 2 feet by 2 feet, like a 2 square feet area, like 1.5 by 1.5, and something like supported by some bracing, like in angle, 90 degree, attached to the building, and a piece of sheet metal to cut out to say, or
Shouldn't we
written.
have, like,
Part of the
representation?
sign program is to incorporate all the signage for the building. And at this time, the tenants don't want more signs, but in the future, if we include them now,
So
then
these
they won't have to come back.
projected signs are for
They're allowed
future?
for future
For
use.
future.
These are
So
all
they
for
wouldn't have to come back to the board. It's already approved as the program, and so they could use those colors, those fonts, without coming back to the board.
Okay.
Just one more, just to clarify, maybe I'm slow on this, but just, so, if we look at the left-hand one, they're using that business card or whatever as the example. That's a white background with black letters, but are you proposing that material, which would essentially be white letters, that would be cut through and show as white letters? No? It would be black letters?
No,
Cut through?
it is black letter.
Like this.
That is the material for the letter?
That's the material.
Yeah.
correct.
That's the material for the letter, okay.
Have a
got it.
perforated black vinyl.
Okay.
That will
Yeah,
read
imagine-
black during
That
the
is the
day,
letter,
but
that is the letter.
that's the face.
And
That's
then
going to
the
be
rest of it is white. The rest of it is
So
the
this
background.
perforated
background-
plastic is going to be attached to the face, so weather and...
No, I'm saying they're cutting the letters out of that.
Yeah, it's going to be attached to
I
the
think-
face.
I think
It's
this
going
is
to
the
go
way it's
through
gonna
that cutout.
I can probably imagine you start with the fields.
Which is
The-
white plastic.
white.
And then they're going to cut the letters out of that.
You cut the letters out of that.
Right.
And then that material is thinner, and
Right.
then you cut the letters out of this
Out of that
thicker
material
with
that
this,
sticks through.
with this face, and then push it right through.
Okay, okay,
That's, I think, the way it is.
okay. I get that.
Pretty good.
Okay.
All right, can we...
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So the public session is closed, and we can talk.
Okay,
And
I'll-
you
I'll go
started,
ahead and-
if you like to.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and get started. I think I'm fine with the design. I think there's some technical questions that I have, which I think I want to throw that out and see if it's possible. First of all, the ask Julie sign this one. Julie or Jolie. I think proportionally, I think it's too big. Even though zoning allows that size, and I'm sure staff looked at it, but I think size and proportion of how much wall space we have and some of the lines that exist, like the frame within the door opening, I think at least the sign should follow. I think the sign should at least be, at least this big and maybe even cut down to a little bit proportion to what this is. It's not going all the way up. It's not in there. You see part of this wall, so I think that I would be comfortable with.
And to
not,
clarify for our eyes, are you bringing it to the mullions, or you're?
I think it should be in line with the mullions.
Okay, and then narrower to
And
leave
then-
more stone revealed.
Yeah, and somehow proportionally be fitting into the space that we have. I think, and my colleagues can talk about that. As far as the orthodontist sign, I'm fine with. I'm actually I would prefer to have the raceway or something there that even the letters are attached to the aluminum. The only reason that I say that is that the current condition of that aluminum fascia is not something to save. So I think whenever, it's just really a bad construction there. So I think some sort of an attachment to that will allow them or give them opportunity to, when they remove that, to fix that. But that's just me talking and trying to fix the problem.
Our goal in staff review was anticipating businesses changing. We didn't want to have too many pinholes.
And hopefully they can take that out and then replace that fascia.
It's
But
hard to
let-
approve a sign where we have to change the.
Let's say we can't do that. I think definitely a curved raceway is more desirable.
But that's what's proposed.
As it's proposed. And what I would do is, I'm not sure the reasoning behind having such a thick box, being that it's an LED and so forth, so I think I would get a thinner and possibly lighten the system so that it would actually sit on the raceway, or it would be somehow, rather than, if this raceway is this, then maybe even the raceway becomes a design element. Maybe it just turns into a different color, and it gets longer, and this is part of the raceway. If we want to set it in the center or something, a line going through and that's a red, I don't know, whatever. But I think the way it is, this proportion, I would maybe even box that whole thing.
Yeah,
or
the
something.
first thought that came to my mind was that the raceway could have been recessed, but I don't think it's
Well,
probably
no,
possible.
then we're cutting
Probably.
into the
I
parapet. so-
know, ideally, but I think the raceway it becomes the same color definitely as the backdrop.
We could even try to get it to be made of the same metal or put some
Yeah.
cladding on it.
And also if it could, I think the depth is not probably that big of a. If you lose 1 inch, we won't even. That's what
I would have liked the raceway, and then these letters would be basically thinner elements that are just sitting on that and kind of backlit against the wall, so it's kind of. But the sheet metal that it's there, casting light onto that and creating those shadows, I don't think it's going to be that pleasant. So I think the way it is fine.
I think what's going to happen is that the light, the way I'm reading this is, you see the light surround for each
Right.
one. It's this plate, so the light won't be shining back on the
It's going to
surface. It's going to face out. So more likely that box, continuous box, will be less noticeable than
You're
one
not going to really see it.
Well, the way I'm reading the drawing is the light is actually going to go toward the back, and the face is going to be opaque, just the metal.
No, it's going to be facing, the light will be shining away from the building, not.
Yeah, well, if you look at this section drawing, it actually shows the light shining toward the building. Is that correct?
No, he's right.
Okay, then the drawing, we'll make sure the drawing reflects that
Bigger
then.
letter behind is being lit, which will show the color
Yes.
The place
lettered
behind
front.
the lettering is going to project the light forward. He's right, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think the issue is, for me, is that if they seem so dissimilar, I guess, but I guess.
This is an unusual sign program for only 2 retail units with 2 very distinct architectural kind of
I
characters.
think the problem is the building.
Are we saying then that if that southern one was going to change, they would still have that same white box and they would change out how the plastic would happen and how the cut would be, right? That's what we're saying?
In the sign program, they could have the choice of either type sign, I believe.
So they could, if somebody wanted to, do a similar type of,
Correct.
like on the left-hand side.
They can also use the colors down at the bottom, the blue and the red on the sample below.
So it
The
could
bottom?
be that they could do that same kind of two-piece, like the orthodontics has done, they could do the other one in a similar way within this program.
Yes.
Rather than having one big square of plastic, they could have the other one be the same double thing.
For the orthodontic sign, you're saying, or the
Or
other
the
one?
clothing one. The
Yeah,
clothing one
yes.
could be done in the same manner as the other one, if they wanted to, within the program.
Correct.
So, I like to share one idea with you guys. You know, I think the problem with both of them, that if I was to do signage on this building, I would have put this sign here, not on this material that makes that volume, that signifies this as Tres Jolie.
I'll put it on the transom as a.
Yeah, I mean, you put this on the transom, and if you put this here with the address below it, or incorporate it within the doorway rather than putting it up on that.
You know, actually, that clarifies my point then. It's putting the orthodontics in a very architectural place in a non-architectural way.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
I
putting
think-
it there on an architectural element, and it's not adding
I think
architectural.
in both cases, the signage will be more effective if it's where the doorway is, and that's where you're going. I think up here, the problem is that even if we make it smaller, like you suggested, it will still kind of feel out of place because it's trying to be part of the architecture, and it's totally not. Because usually, when you design a retail or this sort of a building, signage is vital from day one. You think about where the signage should go, and you talk about it in detail and say, here's the way the signage should be because of the following reason. For example, some designs clarify, they give you a signage guideline that goes with the building, and it clearly tells you what the idea should be because of such and such reason. I think this building probably has totally ignored that. So there's no clear idea where the signage should be. Therefore, I think if you stay away from the main architectural features of the building, that will be more successful in terms of the life of the building and how you can change it from one to another and be more effective as signage, I think. Because these signs take away from the architecture. Not that I think architecturally could have been probably better as a corner building, but I think by putting the signs here and here, it just doesn't help the building. And I think keeping the building intact will be in the interest of the tenants. So I would say the signage should incorporate itself with the glass portions and become part of the doorways and make them even larger, so you can you're entering the orthodontics office or the treasury. That's my take on it. I think stay away from the architectural features and don't affect them, so that in future it will be a problem.
I think I'd go with you a little bit more on the orthodontics. I think it's a strong element, and the signage isn't helping the architecture. I think the left-hand one, it sort of is built to where the signage should be. So I could see signage on the left-hand.
I just think that we're trying to.
We're overthinking it.
I just think we're just overthinking it, and we're trying to
all
solve
I'm saying is that
a problematic building with signage. So I think we have bigger problems with the building than with the signage.
See, the building is there, but I think by putting the signs in those locations, it's not helping the architecture or the tenants.
I think that's true on the orthodontics one. I think the other one, I think is set up. That is, in my mind, I think that's where the signage would be. I don't know that they're doing it right, but I mean, I think the signage on the left-hand one would be in that spandrel. So I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I think the other one isn't architectural enough to work with that curved thing. I mean, that's my problem.
I think both of them take away from the architecture of the building. That's how I see it. I mean, it wasn't very clear for me at the beginning, but all of a sudden I realized that what's kind of bothering me, because it's like, to me, it seems like if this was twice as wide or deep as a fascia, it would have been really twice as good, or worked twice as well for you. I think it's so narrow to begin with, and kind of the sign is barely finding enough space to fill it, and meanwhile, you're trying to keep it away from the edges, and it just becomes sort of like an excuse, or this is the best we can do, sorry, kind of way of treating the signage. So
it's not architectural enough for that architectural location.
Yeah, it doesn't become part of the architecture of the building.
I'll let Alec do it.
We have a slightly split vote on this, and we have one board member who may break that split.
You propose something.
I don't know. You guys can.
He's more flexible.
I cannot make a motion.
Yeah, I agree, and but I think we got a bigger issue with the building than the signage. So I think the signage is. I think a consideration would be granted in this situation. I think it definitely have them consider lowering it rather than a condition it. I do agree. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I think.
So you're okay with the orthodontics letters and give them the option of putting it in the glass area? That's good. Can we do that or not? We can't give recommendations. We give them. It's a yes or no. How does that work?
I think you can.
Yeah,
Jay.
if you give a recommendation, and if you have a consideration, then they'll make the choice. But the choice they make is the sign program. I don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we'll be giving the choice of up or down. Although there's no reason we couldn't. Except that we'll.
That's why we.
Someone would have to deal with repairing the fascia if they decided to take a sign mounted on the fascia.
Every time they want to change tenants, they have to change the whole fascia.
Yeah, I think the goal of a sign program is to identify a location for the sign that's going to be the location for the sign from there on out.
Well, from my understanding and the way it works is that once you put the raceway, you don't take the fascia out. You leave the raceway and you just take that whole sign out, and then you attach it to the raceway.
Is very long.
That's exactly that's exactly what it is. It's actually 16 feet long.
Yeah.
So
What if the next tenants?
you're going to have an extension of the raceway. You're going to have an extension of a
IP.
raceway that it's.
There'll be an IP with a very long wrist.
So yeah, that's what's going to happen. So either way, I think the raceway is designed for this length of a name signage, and I think we're just overkilling this.
Yeah, but yeah.
If I were here. That's what
I don't think we can solve what they're proposing with the architecture of the building. I don't.
Do you think it's strong enough to put it below, or do you think it should just stay on that fascia? I mean,
I personally think that the raceway should be incorporated into the fascia somehow, so that the raceway becomes a element there that they can kind of keep it as part of the whole fascia. So what I would do is, and I don't want to start a whole new conversation, but what I would have done is that instead of actually using the face of this, put the raceway as the bottom edge of this and let that curve around the canopy, and then let the letters kind of sit on or hang from there or somehow be part of that. So the letters are actually here rather than the face, because later on, if they come back and remove this, you're gonna have this raceway standing there like if you say as a company named IP comes, you're gonna have a 16-foot long raceway with two letters sitting there. So at least if it's part of the overall fascia, then that raceway, they can put a sign here or there or whatever, and that raceway is.
for that case, the raceway could have been in the soffit and completely.
It could be in the soffit, it could be anything, and that's what I would suggest. But again, it's like there's so many different options there that we can propose. I mean, the other thing is that we can put the raceway on the top. You can let the letters sit on the top, and so.
Then
becomes a roof sign. Then they get a variance. They get a variance.
I think, that's not the idea.
So I'm just saying, and as far as this is concerned, I agree.
I think it does need a narrow. I think you're correct. It shouldn't go top to bottom. I think it competes too much architecture.
If we move this down, I agree. But how are they going to get? Is it going to?
No, I'm saying don't make it as tall.
Yeah, it will fill that top panel, and the.
I'm okay with it in the stone. I think you're right. It just needs to be shorter, so it's not filling the whole profile.
Okay, so we agree on that. So
Okay, that one we're pretty clear on that
we're,
side.
We're okay on that. So Donix, you want to move that down?
I don't know how far you want to go. What's your recommendation for the orthodontics? You tell me.
Honestly, it's fine. I mean, the way it is, it's fine. I mean, staff is supporting it, so I'm sure they looked at it. I'm okay with it. I would have liked the raceway to be more of an integral of the name, and let the letters sit on that rather than be part of the whole. So it's going to look really odd.
You want to make that as a recommendation or not?
I would like that. I would like the raceway to be part of that, and if they want to extend that beyond so that it becomes some sort of a design element, and then let the letters sit on top of that, that's fine with me. They don't need to go that deep. I would say LED. I don't know how much of a, if they can go as narrow as they can, and then they can kind of attach some sort of attachment so that it would kind of keep them moving. That's fine.
Make the recommendation.
That's my recommendation.
I'm a little uncertain when you're talking about incorporating.
I'm just saying. If let's say this, let's say a raceway of this length.
You're saying put it below the fascia
Not below or right at the edge of the fascia. On the face.
So either on the face or below
right.
the fascia.
And these letters are sitting here, or it can be here off center. So this is kind of longer on this side, whatever. But then when we're here, so this is 6 inches. I'm not sure really 6 inches is necessary, but if it is, then so be it. And this, again, 5 inches, again, I don't know if it's necessary, but it can be that kind of a condition, and if they need to attach something, they're already punching hole through here, so it's not like, these are attachment there, so it doesn't move around or something.
It's attaching to the fascia, though.
I don't know. I don't know if that's the. I'm not into science. So I'm not, the simpler it is, the better it is. I just don't know what to say. There's so many solutions here. I just don't know.
So we'll work with the sign company and make sure the owner concurs to move the raceway to the lower edge of the soffit, or alternatively place. I'm sorry, to the lower edge of the fascia, or to hang it from under the soffit following the curve.
I don't know that it has to be bottom flush at the bottom of the fascia. I think your thing is more the fact that the raceway is a design element below the letter. And it could be slightly up from the
The
bottom.
problem is that if you put this, the letters in the center, then you got a line going right, off center. At least the fascia is now being used as a guideline for the. So that's what I'm trying to do. Is I'm trying to create some sort of a rhyme or reason for the signage to sit somewhere. Right now, it's set right in the center of this. But what if you look at it from this side as you're driving up? It's going to get blocked. So somehow some relevancy of the building and this angle that we're putting in. Right now it's centered with this. Do we run this raceway this long, or right now this is what they look a little bit wider than 3 foot. So they're, let's say, 8 foot. So this is like that big. This is like 8, so it's twice as big. So it's that big. That what we're approving. So that big of a signage versus, like, literally, this is 4 foot. So about there. We're approving this. So I'm just saying, having this dominant sign right in the smack middle of this, it's narrow and long, somehow gives some anchorage to the signage.
If
I'm not
for
sure
some,
completely understand.
if for some reason, building and safety, or there's some issue with attaching it that way at the bottom, could we make allowances in the condition somehow? Okay, just to have it at the bottom of the.
Yeah, and I'm
leathering.
still not sure that's what I heard. We do want the raceway at the bottom, or just lower.
If we can get, okay, let me.
Because
Okay,
you'd rather
I
have
know
the letter
I'm not clear. Okay, here's the thing. If we can get rid of the raceway and let the raceway happen behind, because they're already proposing to bring the power in from here. So if they can bring the raceway from the behind, that would be ideal. That would be preferable. Then the letters would be attached to the wall, to the fascia, and they would have that. And they just have to add another piece of sheet metal on top of whatever they're going to replace, and then that will solve that.
Yeah, and part of our problem has been that this whole sign program should have happened when the building was designed and built, and
Right.
it didn't. So we're kind of working a little bit backwards.
Right.
And we've heard from the applicant side that this is something that will be, it's much easier at this point to apply it to the surface or attach it to the face somewhere rather than remove the whole fascia, re-engineer everything.
Do we know what the depth of that fascia is?
The height?
Or the height?
Projection?
Height. 2 feet? Okay. So, and the raceway, assuming that whatever you have right now, the depth of it is about 4 to 4 inches. Okay. So,
Same color
right. So let's say if this is. I'm going to draw this in so everybody can. So right here we have a 2 foot fascia or canopy or whatever you want to call it. Then you're going to have this raceway, a 4-inch raceway, and then you're going to have a letter sitting on that, 18 inches tall. So you're going to have about a 2 inch. So it's not really proportioned this way. So O is going to be that big. And then the raceway is like this much. So this O is like that big. And that's the proportion right now we're talking about. So if
I think the raceway being...
So right now it's 18 inches tall, so let's say even if we put this in here, so proportionally, you're looking at this big of an O, and then if we put the raceway back down here. If we don't, then you got the raceway here in the middle, and the letter is going to be probably from
Raceway
here
will be
to
at the
here.
base of the letters and running more or less at the bottom of the fascia.
Probably the way it should happen is they need to attach. This is getting a bit technical, but I think they need to attach like an angle to the bottom of the fascia, and then attach the raceway to
I'm
that.
sure they'll figure
But I
something
think-
out, but
I think having the raceway at the bottom probably is a good way out.
this is pretty much the proportion that we're talking.
And the only constraint will be the maximum square footage allowed by the zoning codes.
And it's fine the
Which
way it
looks
is.
like it's okay now, yeah.
Do we have a motion?
That's your motion.
Move to approve with conditions, I guess. And I'm fine with leaving the rest up to you guys too.
The second.
Okay.
Oh.
So, we have a motion, or we have, help me out here, a motion to approve.
Approve.
Okay,
Two conditions.
so roll call. Board Member Garagos,
Yeah, I'll second it.
and then you're usually last.
You
And then you
roll
can-
call.
Okay, roll call is, I'm sorry, the board member, you first. And,
Kirikos.
it's getting late, sorry. Second, you were the second?
I was
Okay, roll call. Board Member Garagos,
Yes.
Malikian,
Yes.
Riffian.
Yes.
Okay. It's approved 3-0.
And I guess the minutes, right?
We have the minutes, and then we also have a staff announcement. Do you have a preference on what you'd like to do first?
Let's do the staff announcements.
Which
so we'll
which
make
one
the
is more
minutes.
exciting?
Oh, yeah, this is a good one. Yeah, we have two staff announcements. First, a reminder to our board members that there is an election next week. Board memberships may be changing in the near future, but we don't know when that future is. So until board members are reappointed, they're still serving as design review board members, and hopefully you will be able to attend all meetings until your possible replacement, but not necessarily being replaced. Second announcement is that this is a public announcement as well as for the board members, the Central Library is being proposed as a site for a fairly major rehabilitation, which is going to affect some of the circulation paths, which is probably the biggest change that would happen at the outside of the building. Rather than entering from the east, there's going to be a new north entrance proposed off of Harvard. And then there's going to be a smaller south entrance, so the axis will be north-south for people entering the building rather than coming from the side at the parking area. There will also be changes at the interior of the building proposed. So this is a major project, and there's going to be a community meeting on Monday, April 8th at 6:30, it begins at 6 and runs to 7:30. It's going to be held in the auditorium of the Central Library, which is at 222 East Harvard Street. There's free parking for library card holders at the parking lot at the southeast corner of Maryland and Harvard. The northeast corner of Maryland and Harvard. And hopefully some of our board members would also be able to attend to kind of hear what the public is saying and thinking about this, because ultimately this project is going to come to the board. It's going to go to City Council for approval, but board members may want to have input as citizens. So
6:30.
6 o'clock,
At the library,
6 o'clock to
right?
7:30 at the Central Library.
6 o'clock.
Monday, April
6.
8th.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, we have the approval of the minutes for March 7th.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes for March 7th.
Second.
Okay, this will be roll call. Mr. Malikian? Yes. Mr. Garagos?
Yes.
Mr. Zarafian?
Yes.
Okay,
Shut.
last, I need a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
Shall I sign these or at the pro tem. Yeah.
Thank you very much.